Hey everybody, Alex here with another episode of Momentum Charting. Thank you for joining me on this video. Today we are going to be discussing SPY, the S-P-Y. If you have not yet done so, please jump down below, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. Doing both of those will ensure you do not miss any updates moving forward this week and next. Important stuff coming on broad markets. Let's get into the charts, guys. So, if you've been following my channel, I gave a warning on broad markets right back here on July 27th on this breakdown of this 20-minute trend line, and since then I've said just be, take your time with the markets, be careful, be cognizant. There's some warning signs potentially happening, and then here on the 28th I pointed out the most likely development that was going to happen was some sort of a channel, and you can see here that's basically for all intents and purposes what has happened. So let's take a look here at the continuous contract. You can see this a little bit more closely on what exactly is happening here. This was the first break to the upside and establishment of our horizontal channel back here on 22nd of July. We've got an upper zone here of around 44.23, and it looks to me like this channel is still acting pretty well. Now, basically what I was saying on the last video was right now we want to be really careful, but at the same time all the different types of videos and things like that coming out over the weekend saying markets were definitely in crash mode this week. I kind of wanted you guys to just step back, take a broad view of things, and let's see what's really happening here before we start calling for market crashes. As you can see, 100% neutral, just like my video on the 28th. Still in a holding pattern here on the S&P, and I want to see what's going to happen here. Yes, we appear potentially to be at some sort of a top and potentially a top formation. While that is certainly true, two things could happen. This thing could just whipsaw back and forth for weeks, right, before making any decision on what's going to happen. In that case, if you're trying to use leverage on your trades or something like that, obviously you would be wiped out because of time decay. The other thing that could obviously happen here is we could break this overhead resistance at 44.24 and turn this into support and start moving higher off of these levels. So before we get carried away and start calling for a big market correction, market crash, anything like that, we want to give this trend some time to develop to see what's going to happen. Now, my base case for now is that we are going to come down once again to these levels and bounce off. And you can see I've got the this overhead line of support, and I think what's going to happen is sometime early this morning, or right around market open, something like this, we're going to find support in these areas, bounce off, and establish a new trend to the upside. That's my base case, just because that's what I'm seeing has been happening for a while now, and I don't see any reason right now for that not to continue. Okay, so futures up just slightly, around 0.15, 0.17%, something like that. Could see some weakness throughout the night and early morning, potentially coming down to these levels here around 437, 43.7150, something in that zone. But I'm honestly not expecting to break out of this channel right now. But if we do, okay, if we come down here and break this channel and either do some sort of a return into the channel and then a breakdown or a back test, something like this, definitely warning. That's going to be an extreme warning sign for the potential of a correction in the short term in the market. So going to be watching very, very carefully for that. And I'm going to show you some more things on some other charts that I want to show you guys today that I think are also important. So again, Base case, we come down here early this morning or during the early morning trading hours, find some sort of support in this areas and start heading back up to the upper bounds of the channel at around 44.22. Again, that's my base case. And that's basically what I've been saying here since July 27th, when the 20-minute line of upward diagonal momentum broke to the downside, kind of warning of exactly what's happening here developing. You can see 20-minute and 1 hour moving averages basically starting to level out, and it looks like they're starting to move sideways. Strong support in these zones around 435. So we kind of want to let this develop further before we make any rash decisions in the market one way or another, what we think is going to happen. Overall, yeah, in the broad markets, bigger tech stocks looks like maybe due for just the most minute level of corrections and then continuing up to the upside. So based on the chart of the S&P right now, based on the charts of a lot of large cap tech stocks, everything like that, kind of have to give our base case to a continued, at least neutral tone to the markets right now. And I'm definitely not ready to call for that correction that most other people are trying to call for right now. I, again, want to take the wait and see approach. So let's, this is the other thing I wanted to show you guys. Moving over to one of our favorite charts. We're here on the 3-hour inside trading view, the momentum indicator. And I just wanted to illustrate this. As I always say, the market, if you give it a chance, give it some time to develop trends, eventually it's going to reveal itself. And the more patience you give to these trends, the easier it's going to see, and the better your timing is going to end up being, you know, if you're trying to either go long and short. So I just wanted to illustrate this carefully for you guys on these momentum trends as the market sets itself up. So you can see here back in May 2020, we eventually established this upward momentum line, two points of contact on June 30th and May 18th, and continued up. And we did not see any start of downside in the markets or increase in volatility until this broke to the downside. Once this trend broke to the downside, you started getting these big gyrations. Definitely yes, not necessarily when these break to the downside are you going to get a market crash, but most likely you're going to get a period of at least increased volatility and a possible short-term correction in the market until the markets can recover and once again establish a trend of momentum back to the upside in these positive zones. So you can see that's what happened here on the 8th of September. We got the first warning as it dipped below this trend line here on 8th of September, first thing in the morning. Then the market was just kind of rocky for, yeah, more than a month here. This was a long period where the market kind of took it some time to regain its footing. But then eventually we did start trending here again in November 2020. And then here, once again, we got this warning sign as the trend broke to the downside. But at this point, it did break back up. But again, this brought on a period of increased volatility until the market once again established itself in these positive zones. And let's also look here at this interesting and important time frame here from November 19th up until the top of the COVID crash, okay, which was obviously late February 2020. You can see that this momentum on the 3-hour clearly established this horizontal trend line of support, and we kept getting these nice dips back to the bottom, and it would just keep coming back, but then eventually there were warning signs here. You could see there wasn't much support in this area here, but then not only that, you started getting this big acceleration. You see the difference in this these momentum points from here on, let's see, February 21st at 12:30 to February 24th, we did have a pretty sizable drop in the overnights that day, but you could see this momentum just starting to accelerate to the downside in a big way, which is shown by the difference in area between these momentum dots. And then here, finally, on the 25th, you got the breakdown, complete breakdown of this trend. And just market started moving harder and harder and harder to the downside. And that's when we got the big COVID crash in these areas here, obviously to the bottom around March 20th or so, 2020 approximately. So, yeah, and let's take a look at a couple other ones here. Same thing. Mid-June 2019, you can see the 3-hour momentum had a nice upward line of support trending and then broke here on July 31st. And that's when we started getting this period of slightly increased volatility as well as a correction. This correction here was only about 7%, so not huge, but you can just see that if you give the market time and you give the market a chance to set where it wants to go and what points it thinks are important. Again, here, then on May 19th, early May 19th, we broke down here, and then we started getting this period of big volatility and drop to the downside. And one more illustration here for you guys. This was the crash in 2018. This was a nice, long, established momentum trend to the upside, starting here on April 2018, carrying all the way through to December, and finally broke that here on, let's see, October 5th, 2018. And that's right around this area. And if you're paying attention to the warning signs in the market, you could see that it was a good time to, be careful in the markets, because momentum is broken to the downside. We kind of need to see what's happening, and that led to this big period of downtrending and just complete whipsawing, and markets starting operating in these areas of negative momentum, which I've explained many times in the past. If you just start whipsawing in these areas of negative momentum, prices will eventually decline to the downside, and that's definitely, most certainly what they did, as this crash continued all the way through to December, around December 26th, day after Christmas. So that kind of illustrates to you guys the importance, and you can go back in time and time again on these momentum trends. The major danger areas in the markets are when the momentum trends that have been established in the markets break to the downside. So, having said all that, where are we today? Let's take a look here. Where are we on this momentum trend? So, we are here, and we've got a very, very nice and clearly established trend line here on the first point since March 5th, and another touch point here on June 21st, and then came down here. Didn't quite hit the line on July 20th. So as you guys can see, we've still got a trend here that, yes, in the shortest time frame is indeed pointing down, but that doesn't mean it can't come back up. But the main point of this is that we are still well established in this momentum uptrend. So to me, again, base case, what's most likely going to happen if we decline here instead of breaking out of these zones is somewhere here within the next couple weeks, maybe work a little bit slower on momentum, but then just pop back up to the upside and just reestablish this sort of medium-term momentum trend to the upside. So as of right now, I've got no real worries right now as far as a major correction or crash in the markets, guided by some things like moving averages. We're in this channel. It just, to me, markets seem to have a lot of strength right now. SPY, Qs, and a lot of big tech stocks seem to me to have a lot of underlying strength right now. I'm not really seeing any signs of a crash here right now. Now, if we were to come down here and breach this trend line and start moving to the downside, that's a different story. And in that case, it's definitely time to be on high alert for markets and see where they are going to correct to in the short term, and kind of, you know, take swing trades off the table, everything like that, and be really careful about developments to the downside in the market. Let's take a look at one chart I do like to look at, the VIXI. I did notice this, which is kind of interesting here, so I do want to maybe keep an eye on this a little bit. You can see this trend over time has been appearing to be working higher, right? And today on the 3-hour, we did get this breakout to the upside, but again, guys, we are still working in an extremely negative area of momentum. So just because that broke to the outside doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to continue up. And you can see here in the past, sometimes it breaks to the upside and then has this big thing where it just retraces suddenly on the VIX. So yeah, in the very, very shortest term, it's broken out to the upside, and that may correspond with some weakness here over the next couple of days, and again a return to these levels here of support at 435. Now if we do break this level at 435 and start continuing lower, and we show that this VIX is continuing to the upside, definitely going to be paying attention to a potential retrace to these levels of support down here. Okay, this longer term trend line down here at around 427. But as of right now, kind of like what happened back here on July 16th, we got this big just move to the downside. Okay, so we do want to watch for that. We want to watch for this level to break, and if the VIX continues to push to the upside, definitely want to watch for that. If the continuous contract on the S&P breaks this channel, starts putting in candles here, and starts showing breaking down here, yeah, those are all warning signs for the market, and we definitely want to pay attention. But as of right now, guys, again, on the SPY, this momentum trend is firmly established right now in a bullish zone, and showing no signs as of yet of a market correction, because we are still operating nicely along this upward sloping trend line, and to me, if this thing were to maybe say get some support here, start moving sideways and break up out of this downward sloping trend line, well, then we've got higher prices ahead in the markets, guys. So that's another thing we're going to want to watch here. So basically that's it for today's session on the SPY, everybody. And yeah, if you haven't yet done so, please go down below, subscribe to the channel, give you updates all this week on SPY, broad markets, all your favorite stocks, everything in between. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. And yeah, we'll definitely do it again tomorrow. See you guys soon. Bye for now.